Drea Humphrey here, November 7th, outside of Universal Ostrich Farms with no ostriches, at least no living ones, because the Canadian Food Inspection Agency hired their hitmen to come and slaughter hundreds of healthy ostriches because they caught a common flu for animals of all types in the wild, by the way, a year ago. There behind me, there are blue bins now being packed with ostrich carcasses. The slaughter is over. It ended sometime between 11 and 12:30 a.m. I'm actually going to shift here because this other... And also Rebel News has close-up footage as well coming that will be better quality. It's pretty gruesome in there. You can see their feet in the air. It's pretty sick. But I want to talk about a couple of things. Number one, earlier we captured them remove the hay bales in that area right there so they could drive in. And they had no PPE on whatsoever. You would think that these hay bales, after you just blasted a bunch of ostriches, hundreds of them, with blood spatter and whatever else, would have been treated as some sort of biohazardous thing if there was some sort of risk here. But of course, it's all just a show. Anybody with two brain cells knows that. We don't know how long it's going to take for the CFIA to finish. They certainly, worked fast and swiftly last night to annihilate the lives of the ostriches and the livelihoods of the farmers. I have no clue what these farmers are going to be left with. I put out some clips of, the morning for the farmers as they woke up. My colleague Sid Fitzgerald's here, and he also interviewed Dave. And I heard Karen say, at this point it's early, but she's saying, how could I go back? How could I go back to ostrich farming after something like this happens to you? And I imagine a lot of the farms being wiped out with this stamping out policy, healthy or not, we kill them all on speculation and with overcycled PCR tests. I imagine a lot of farmers go, well, why would we start again? Like, there's going to be more wild birds coming around. So how do you stop the madness? Now, of course, the answer from the big pharma and friends is, oh, you get a vaccine. And we've seen how much that stopped the virus during COVID. There are some people up here on this, my fingers, by the way, I'm sure they were dirty just then. Somehow dirt just finds you over here. But we have some people that are just doing what they've done this whole time, watching every move so that the CFIA, as hard as they tried before, with literally blocking the farmers' cameras. I mean, that was the first of many outrageous things we saw when they all descended on here with all of the tax dollars and all of the cops, and is they literally blocked their cameras. As soon as the farmers got their emergency stay order, which of course paused this for 40 days, they blocked the cameras. They're like, okay, screw you, public. They took some down, they blocked others. It's just ridiculous. But that's why, another reason why it's been so important to be here often to expose, and kudos to the many people who have been doing that with their phones as well. I think we've got the CBC down there tonight, so they're reporting on it. I don't know if they were out with the gunshots last night, but it was just so disturbing hearing those shots. I don't think you guys could hear it in the footage. I was live streaming. I was catching the farmers' reactions, their devastation. But hearing those gunshots just boom, boom, boom go off, some will tell you it was hundreds. I don't know exactly how many. Obviously it was hundreds because there's hundreds of birds, but I've heard people say there was 900 shots. I don't know how many they were. It was traumatic. It really was. I can't imagine how the farmers were feeling, and you could see some of that. We captured that for you in case the mainstream media wants to continue trying to twist them into such bad people who deserve to have their livestock killed because they're in debt. Like, literally, that's what the mainstream media tried to do. Devastation. That's all it is. So I encourage you guys, if you haven't already, if you're at home and you're upset about this, share that. Break through the echo chamber. Let people know what took place here on November 6, 2025. The ostrich slaughter. The slaughter of science. The slaughter of humane treatment of animals. The slaughter of farming and food security. That's what was at stake. And that's what the people need to know is happening in Canada. Now, if there's one thing I've learned from covering these farmers is I know when they say you mess with the wrong farm, they mean it. So while they are in a stage of grieving right now, it's not going to be the end of them. Another thing Karen said, you know, in between tears this morning, is she said, I have nothing left. They took everything from me, but you know what I do have left? Time. I have time now to expose them, and they're going to pay. So she was saying, well, and I know this, you know, now she has no chores. She has no farming chores. That would take her hours to do. Then she goes in and feeds the dogs. And I mean feeds those dogs. They eat well. I've never seen anything like it. And so she says, now I have time, and it will be my mission to work night and day to change this policy, this WHO, World Organization of Animal Health policy, these foreign oligarchs of the 1% controlling somehow our country has been captured. You remember when Klaus Schwab, you know, the head of the WEF, I believe he's retired, so we think anyways. You remember when he bragged about penetrating the Canadian government, the Liberal cabinet. Actually, he didn't specify Liberal. Who knows who he's penetrated? But they're literally mocking us. Here we are signing and adopting all of their policies, whether it be the land grab enrichment, whether it be radical gender ideology in schools. It's all coming down from the UN, the WF, including this nonsense policy, this senseless anti-science policy that says kill and destroy life, whether they're healthy or not. Don't even retest. It's been almost a year. So again, we have SaveTheOstriches.com. That's also where we posted that horrific, you know, footage of the aftermath of the massacre as well. If you have the stomach for it, you can look at that too. If you don't have the stomach, close your eyes and press share. But again, SaveTheOstriches.com. And I'm not giving up either. I will continue to cover and expose what this agency has been getting away with, not just here, but for 20 years. Drea Humphrey with Rebel News.
So one of the disposal trucks here for the CFIA, it's coming to the kill pen over here, and as you can see, he can't actually make it through the mud from all the RCMP cars that have dug a trail on this field.
Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News. I'm on the highway in front of Universal Ostrich Farms. I'm actually the only one out here, as I was looking at an entourage of RCMP descend on the farm again. It appears as though they are once again blocking the entrance. My guess is because that means the ostriches, unfortunately, have all been filled and the trucks are about to leave, and perhaps the police are trying to prevent maybe people from following them. Even as a journalist, I'd be interested to know where exactly they're disposing these so-called biohazardous ostriches, carcasses now, unfortunately, because I think the public would love to know where those tax dollars are being spent as well. So I will show you what I can. I'll flip over the camera. It's hard to see. They've got the spotlights basically shining to the road. I think that that's strategic too, so that, as you'll see, there's not much you can see. Okay, so there are quite a bit of officers that have arrived and driven through the neighbor's lawn to get over to this side of the farm. And then way over here, which you're not going to see, past the trees over there, there is a huge lineup of cars. So I want to...
Where's Drea?
Hi. Hi. Are you watching the...
Wait, have you watched the...
Sorry, I'm trying to... Is that better?
I can't see.
Is that better?
Yeah.
All right, tell us what's going on, Katie.
What's going on? We've just watched, for the last, how long have we been out here?
I don't know, I was over there on the highway still. And
I think it's been a couple hours of watching Super Save not know how to take our coffins of our animals and load them properly. So I think we're sitting here watching the one hanging off the back. The first coffin went onto the truck, grinding all the wood. So we're asking the first scale that they go through. They Barney and Rebecca and Barney and Sergeant Bilko and Regretta and Frank and Lulu, Connor, Ethan, Katie. They're all full. Connor, we have Trevor, and all of our babies are in these bins. All of our babies. So yesterday Canada fell hard. They fell really hard. Canada fell hard yesterday.
And what about you? Where are you at with all of this?
Where are we at? I think we're numb. Yeah. My mom and I said, I think the best way to explain it, it feels like we're not even in our bodies right now. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a long road to recovery, but this is giving us the determination and momentum to fight for a better way. Mm-hmm. And they just gave us more strength. They don't know it, but we're a family that fights hard and we love hard. But when we fight harder.
I think the many people know that to be true. That's
and now that our lands are empty, and it's like today is a day of mourning. And I think November 6th and 7th will be known for a long time in Canadian history for when the world woke up. When the world woke up.
Thank you. Okay, so can you show me what you were talking about over here, what I'm looking at? Yeah. I don't know why this just spin.
Oh, property after the cull has been completed. And I think that's why they're panicking.
I don't know what's going on with this. Oh, weird. Okay, I don't know why this is sideways. I don't know what happened here.
Okay, so we have our first bin that was brought here was on the left. They wrecked the wood decking. It grinded and broke the wood. Jeez. Either these bins with our big, beautiful prehistoric birds are overweight. That life that has been destroyed and murdered in the last 24 hours in the night, pouring rain with gunshots being heard all through the night. They are filled and they're too full. The one that is on the right, the decking, they don't even have the coffin, because we're calling them a coffin, on the decking fully.
Yeah.
And you have to look and remember, these are not biohazardous waste containers. They have to have some sort of a biohazardous waste travel plan. They have to have a plan and paperwork to supposedly handle this material. They are not marked. there should be some sort of movement plan or transportation plan. And these animals are sitting in these bins that were running and dancing 24 hours ago. And it's going to continue to watch, but what's going to watch is that there's going to be the most amazing change made in respect to every name that is attached to every one of these animals. That these bins are full of decades of life. Decades. We're not some 6-month commercial poultry facility. These are decades of life that had never been tested. Never been tested. And we were fighting for every farm in Canada, and we're going to continue to fight. Even with our animals gone, we're fighting for you. And we're going to continue to fight. My mom is broken. They took her identity. They took her everything. They took her every day. She stepped out of the front door to go care and love her babies. Chores took about 2.5 hours. When Canadian Food Inspection Agency was doing chores, it was 16 minutes. 16 minutes they were recorded doing chores. Those animals were suffering and neglect and animal abuse for about over a month. So you know what? At the end of the day, they're in a way better place than they were in the care of Canadian Food Inspection Agency. But I am really disappointed in the Supreme Court of Canada because this is an international issue and it should have been heard. These animals held opportunity, they held resiliency, they held hope for this avian influenza crisis that they keep saying that we're in. Again, let me remind you, stamping out isn't working. If stamping out was working, we would not have the avian influenza outbreaks. We wouldn't have the tuberculosis. We wouldn't have Newcastles. Have you not noticed the influx of the new viruses and the viruses they claim that we have? You tell me how stamping out is working. It's not working. It's been happening for decades. They've been doing this, and stamping out is not working. So what do? Well, you just killed opportunity. You just killed discovery. You chose destruction over discovery, and you set evolution back. You set science back. You set life back. You set hope back, and it sits there right now, dead in bins. So congratulations, Canadian Food Inspection Agency. But I promise you that your agency will be reformed. You need a new face, a new vision, a new love, a new look. You need proper outbreak response control for families and farmers, and not attacking them, but working with them to mitigate the risk, but protect the survivors. The survivors are the ones that hold the resiliency, the firewall, the antibodies, and instead, the survivors of the hundreds are laying in these bins right now.
So, what do you make of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency's claim today that they did the most humane way of killing them? Gunshots was the most humane, and that's everything they did. They stuck to it by the book.
I don't know. Let me ask you, Canada. Was that the most humane way you've ever seen? Gunshots ricocheting the sound through our windows that we could hear in our home. Not 2 hours of it, not 3 hours of it, but like 6 hours of gunshots with hundreds of animals trapped in panic when they were supposed to be resting at night. Instead, the rain was pouring on them and they were getting murdered, tripping over each other's bodies in panic. You want to know the character, the personality of an ostrich? They panic. They panic when they have fear of loud noises, and when one starts to panic, then the other starts to panic, and then the other one starts to panic. So in 6 hours, I'm promising you, it was chaos. It was chaos. It was murder. It was the worst way, inhumanely, you could have ever approached this, by hiring, what do they call them? Marksmen, or yeah. So they hired hitmen. They hired hitmen to kill life. Yeah, we chose destruction over science and death versus life yesterday, all because the Canadian Food Inspection Agency will not work or collaborate with us. Science took a back seat yesterday. It has for 11 months. Transparency, truth, communication. It's all a broken system, and that's what we're fighting for at Universal Ostrich Farms. And we still are called Universal Ostrich Farms. And we'll be remembered for that forever. You don't just replace these animals. These animals are decades of lineage, decades of environmental challenges these animals have went through and built up antibodies and resistance. And you know what they showed at the end? the biggest resistance and the biggest resilience. And that's what Canadians need to come up, and they need to rise up, and they need to act like an ostrich, and they need to be resilient, they need to be strong, and we need to show the government that the government is nothing without its people. And we, the people, our voice, we shouldn't be punished for using our voice. Our voice matters. Your voice matters. My voice matters. My family's voice matters. And when we have an opportunity to create change peacefully, like we've done for 11 months, but be shut down, that has a ripple effect across the world. And that will create change. We will become unified. We will create change. We will stand up. We will rise up peacefully. And we will show the world what we can do.
Well, I don't think it's humane to kill anything living for zero reason, which is what they've done here.
They didn't just torment our family, they tormented the world. That's what the Supreme Court of Canada missed. This is the world. The world was watching. The world saw themselves in these animals. They were beacons of hope for so many across the world, and you took that away from the world. You didn't just take that away from my mom and from us, you took that away from the world.
Speaking about the science, can you go back to when they first came on your property and they asked you, it was around the time they first came, and they asked you, where are you storing the antibodies? And then give us an update on what you know about their pursuit to find those since then.
That's right. So we have, back in February, they asked us when they came from one of their last visits. So they hadn't been on our farm since February 26th to September 22nd. If we had the biggest, most virulent threat of avian influenza in Canada, then they put you at risk because they hadn't visited our farm in over 6 months. No soil samples, no water samples, no samples from our ostriches. But on their visit, they asked us, they said, where do you store your COVID-19 antibodies? And we said, what? What do you mean, our COVID-19 antibodies? And they said, yeah, because when we're coming for everything. And so right now, we do know that they've hired a private lab out of Quebec named Lafont Medical to produce the research that we were giving them in December, January, February. And so that alone, if that isn't a red flag for all Canadians, that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency could grant almost $1 million to a private lab in Quebec. But you couldn't garner the respect of a family that's been dedicated to this for 4 years and had science and research handing it to you ready to use. Ready to use. We weren't at beginning stages, ready to use. They love to go on their government website and say, we didn't give them any substantiated research evidence. That's a lie. We have all the emails.
I
we
see
have
that.
all the emails. We have all of our business plans. We had you.
I looked at that when I started covering because I wanted to make sure it was legit.
That's right.
But you
And
see the
they have it
mainstream
all,
media.
But they decided to go and give a $750,000 grant to Lafont Medical in Quebec because they want to go and privatize their own farming, their diagnostic test kits for avian influenza for farmers, which we were working on to be 98.9% effective using our antibodies to protect farmers from the situation that we're in right now. So again, we're going to keep pushing forward. We might not have the animals, but I promise you we're going to protect you as the agricultural sector and the livelihoods and the generational farmers that you've dedicated your lives to, and the lineage and the genetics that you carry that are going to be the hope for Canada. We will protect you. We're asking you to stand with us though, because we can't do this alone. We need the Canadian farmers to stand up. You need to rise up. You need to come out of fear, and you need to get into strength and hope. And you need to know that if we band together, we'll create the change to protect you, your children, your grandchildren, and be the hope that Canada deserves.
You want to know if it was ethically done? The killers had to go back at 9 a.m. to finish off the ones who had survived through the night.
What was that, Luca?
You were asking about ethically euthanized or slaughtered or whatever. One, you can hear on my live streamed all night, listening to the screaming, like the sounds of the ostrich and the gunfire. This morning they had to go back, and because there's still a number of them were still alive, still breathing. So you heard gunfire go off again at 9 a.m. So many of them suffered, still alive, until the next day.
I didn't even know that.
You know, everybody was hearing one thing at a time, seeing the horror from one angle of the farm. What was going through your mind when you were hearing those shots over and over and over?
Well, I'd read about all the different strategies that they had published, or the news had published. You know, whether it was the euthanizing the cranial or snapping their necks, putting hoods over them. And just imagining, you know, I imagine there's 100 at a time, or give or take, just because that's how many were originally corralled. So, I mean, it's not ethical to do that in front of other animals. There are rules in place for other livestock. You don't, you know, slaughter them in front of one another as they would have had to do in that instance. So it would have just been absolutely terrifying for the animals, and painful, horrific. I'm sure they were probably doing all the different methods, whether it was 3 guys getting on top trying to snap their necks, or stabbing them in the head with poisonous needles, and then it's supposed to be a last resort to shoot them, but I'm sure it probably just goes on the person's personal preference or skill set, because there's definitely a lot of bullets flying all night. So.
Well, in other provinces, I know, like Alberta, it's actually illegal to pen hunt. That means to put animals together in a circle and shoot them like we saw there. So it's interesting that the CFIA somehow finds that horrific act okay. Now, what can you tell us about, because I'm on a different live than I first had, about what you saw here with the bins over here, like earlier? So we've got some of the Super Save bins there.
Well, they were trying to get 2 on for flat deck, which is not going to happen. They're not loaded properly. They've damaged the decks. So if they get stopped at a weigh station, they'll likely be taken off the road. They don't have the proper decals up, biohazard decals. Also, those bins aren't supposed to be used for biohazard materials. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things going wrong here. But that's what happens when when you're doing bad things. You get sloppy and you rush and you make mistakes. As you can see, they've got one bin hanging off the end here, so that can't move until they figure that out. And even the one on the left is it's not balanced, like the weight isn't balanced on that trailer, so that wouldn't be legal to fly either. So
yeah, what is up with that?
It's a big disaster.
Quite a way to have so-called biohazardous waste teetering.
Oh, and you
like
should have
so.
seen them handling the hay. So you would have, I hate to be gruesome, but you would have had blood, fluids, brain matter, guts, all sorts of things all throughout that straw. And all morning there were dozens of men in and out of there handling the hay, walking around, no PPE whatsoever.
No PPE, yeah.
So, I mean, where's this danger, right? It's just ridiculous.
It's all a show. It's all a show.
But, that's what happens. Criminals, they get sloppy and they make mistakes, and it'll all come out in the wash. It'll take a while, but, the years to come, it'll all come out.
So where's the fight gone for you now that the birds are no longer with us?
Well, I call this a sloppy, what am I saying? It's a victory. It's a messy victory. Very similar to war. You lose soldiers in war. And of course we would have liked to see these birds live and their health benefits for humanity go on. But their death is going to add to the Great Awakening that a lot of people are witnessing unfold. And it's shown the colors of the CFIA and the country, Canada, of what they're capable of and what can be in store for the rest of us. Has been a big precedent-setting thing. There's people who have had their property seized that weren't even connected to the ostrich farm, and they had to cross armed men each night and beg for permission to go sleep in their own bed, and they had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, definitely a lot of issues on the line here we saw in this battle, including property rights. Thank you. I should ask you, did you see those images of the birds?
I did.
Where you can physically see them?
Yeah, it was horrific, yeah. It just goes to show the sloppy nature of their operation.
Yeah.
It's very...
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Hens too, the ones that I think that's probably why they got the stay order, was so that they could do their work. Right? They could carry on testing the hens, finding out which ones had the antibodies that they wanted, stole them, and then just killed the rest.
Well, at this point, there is zero trust among obviously anybody who's been invested in this story. Zero trust of the agency. And this is what government overreach does. Like mandating vaccines, and then now they're like, oh, how come no one's getting their vaccines? Tyranny, shocker, doesn't get people to believe you when they see that you are just doing something absolutely wrong. A lot of the people who have been here for a while, they believe that the final count of the birds didn't even match how many should be there. So they've come up with different reasons on why that is, but that comes after them getting barred, the farmers getting barred, even though other farmers, when their herd is being culled, they're allowed to be a part of the process. CFIA invites them to be a part of the process because that's the humane thing to do, especially with animals like ostriches, where they're not like chickens. They were playing with balls, they were dancing, they had different personalities, and they were familiar with pecking their farmers, and they could actually sense the fears. That's something I saw over the months that I've come back and forth from here, is that they started to really love people, not just the farmers, but the supporters themselves. When they would sing or do their drums and things, you would see the ostriches come and watch and sort of spectate. And then last night, in the so-called humane CFIA call of these healthy ostriches, and again, I repeat, it's impossible to humanely kill any animal, any life. I mean, that's what serial killers do, right? That's like a precursor. When someone is going around and killing an animal for no reason, they're not, humanely killing them and eating them, feeding their family. They're just killing them. That's some serial killer stuff. And yet, this is what's happened here. Hundreds of them. And some people are like, oh, it's a big deal. There's lots of other stuff going on. I mean, most get it here. This story, as I've said many times, is about farming rights, food rights, even though the birds, in their last years weren't for food consumption. It still sets the precedent for going outside of poultry, because these ostriches were not poultry too. So next could be the cattle. Next could be the pigs. Next could be your pets. So it sets a precedent for that doesn't matter if your flock is healthy. That's what the CFIA eventually said, because of course the reasonable thing for the farmers to do was say, could you please test them? You've never tested a single one of the birds that they just slaughtered and put into these bins behind me. Just test them. We know they're healthy. And eventually the CFIA admitted it doesn't matter. We're not testing them. We're just following the policy. Not even a Canadian birth policy, a policy birthed out of foreign oligarchs from the WOH, the World Organization of Animal Health. I mean, they got their own warrant under the Animal Health Act. When I first was like, okay, there's a warrant, I was thinking it was the RCMP. Oh, no. In fact, the arrests were authorized by the CFIA. That's what the RCMP said. When they seized the neighbor's property via a warrant that didn't have the neighbor's name on it, and the neighbors came home to their house seized, and those neighbors obviously had some questions, the cop said to them, the CFIA has been gracious enough to allow you to stay in your own home. And then later texted the adult daughter saying, hey, make sure you email the CFIA before you come back. I don't want them to authorize your arrest. I'm sorry, what? This is the state of Canada. This is the power that unelected bureaucrats hold. That's what they can do. They can authorize arrests. I didn't even know that was a thing. But I should have known because of COVID tyranny and how public health officers we don't elect were locking us down. But this is the little bit of a memorial because the CFIA bureaucrats wouldn't let the farmers say goodbye. Another sick and twisted. Their lawyer tried to get them permission to say goodbye before they did the call, and they wouldn't even let them do that. Well, I do believe it when Katie says it, and I heard her mom say it earlier. It's not over. The battle has just begun. It's a new season. They destroyed the ostrich lives. They destroyed the farm's livelihood, but they did not destroy their spirit or the fight that they still have in them. And we'll still be covering it too at Rebel News. More to come, more investigating to expose the CFIA, not just for this farm, for all of the farms before it. I'm Andrea Humphrey. You can find our coverage on this, the background story if you're just getting involved in it, and you can share so that more are aware at SaveTheOstriches.com.